Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is a Legacy School Literacy lesson for Week 7, Part 3. So for this lesson, we're actually going to use our literacy workbook, so go ahead and pull that out. You'll need to open up to page 12, and we'll work all the way till page 14. So we are on the topic of autobiographies. We said an autobiography is a story about somebody's life written by them. So we're going to have a lot of first-person pronouns like I and me and we. We're going to get a lot of intimate details that we wouldn't necessarily get if somebody else wrote the story, and a lot of thoughts and ideas from the writer. So this section or portion of an autobiography is by Mary Seacole. She was a Jamaican nurse who lived in the 19th century and spent much of her life in Europe, where she practiced her medical skills. So she was a doctor. In particular, she played a significant role in treating wounded soldiers during the Crimean War, which was between 1853 and 1856, a long time ago. And she became highly thought of in English society. So remember, this is a point in history where women aren't necessarily working as doctors. So this was something very impressive of her. And she was thought of highly, which means people really respected her. So the passage below is taken from the opening pages of her autobiography. We're going to read it carefully and then answer the questions that follow. Extract 1, Mary Seacole. So I want you to follow along in your books. It is not my intention to dwell at any length upon the recollections of my childhood. So to dwell means to stay in one place, to think about one thing over and over again. So she's like, I'm not trying to think about my childhood over and over again, but she's going to tell us the story. My mom kept a boarding house in Kingston and was, like very many of the Creole women, an admirable doctress. A doctress is a female doctor. This is old language. In high repute with the officers of both services and their wives who were from time to time stationed at Kingston. So if you are in high repute, that means you have a very good reputation among people. It was very natural that I should inherit her tastes, and so I had from a very early youth a yearning for medical knowledge and a practice which has never deserted me. So when you inherit something, that means you take it from your parents. So she inherited her taste or her love for practicing medicine from her mother. When I was a very young child, I was taken by an old lady who brought me up in her household among her very own grandchildren, and who could sparsely have shown me more kindness had I been one of them. So this old lady was very, very kind. She raised her as if she was her own grandchild. So she showed her so much kindness. It seemed like she was one of her own grandchildren. Indeed, I was so spoiled by my patroness that for being frequently with my mother, I might have likely grown up idle and useless. So she said this old lady spoiled her so much that if she didn't spend time with her mother, she would have grown up idle, which means not really doing anything, and useless. But I saw so much of her and of other patients that the ambition to become a doctress early took firm root in my mind. So if something takes firm root, that means it's like stuck in your mind. Imagine like the roots of a tree, how they're stuck in the ground very firmly. And I was very young when I began to make use of the little knowledge I had acquired from watching my mother upon a great sufferer, my doll. So she was practicing medicine on her doll when she was young. I have noticed always what actors' children are. If you leave one alone in a room, how soon it clears a little stage, and making an audience out of a few chairs and stools proceeds to act its childish griefs and blandishments upon its doll. So she said children are like great actors. If you leave one alone in a room, the whole place suddenly becomes like a stage, and chairs and the stools become almost like an audience. So I also made good use of my dumb companion, and whatever disease was most prevalent in Kingston, be sure my doll soon contracted it. So she would act like her doll was getting the diseases that were going around. I have made many medical triumphs in later days and saved some valuable lives, but I really think that few have given me more real gratification than the rewarding glow of health which my fancy used to picture stealing over my patient's waxen face after a long and precarious illness. So she said she actually helped a lot of people become better and save some lives and when she grew up. But she got real gratification or a real sense of satisfaction from treating her doll. Before long, it was very natural I should seek to extend my practice. So she wanted to do more. And so I found other patients and dogs and cats around me. So the dogs and cats were now her patients or her victims. Many luckless brutes were made to simulate diseases which were raging among their owners and had forced down their reluctant throats the remedies which I deemed most likely to suit their supposed complaints. So she would make the dogs and cats around her area her patients, and she would force down their reluctant throats the remedies that she thought were suitable. So reluctant means they're hesitant. They didn't really want to do anything. So or what she wanted them to do, which was like to open their mouth and swallow the medicine. And she would force it down their throat. Also, the word remedy it means like a medicine or something that would make you feel better. All right. So now that we have gone over the text, let's go ahead and look at the bottom of page 13. It says, now answer these questions, which you should try to answer in your own words as much as possible. Number 1, explain the meaning of the following words and phrases as used in the passage. We have inherit her tastes, yearning, patroness, blandishments, prevalent, gratification, my fancy used to picture, precarious, and simulate. So you can use a dictionary to help you, but definitely make sure you go back in the text and see how it was used so that you're writing the meaning based on the context. All right? Let's flip to page 14. It says, according to paragraph 2, what did the writer gain from the old lady and what problem might have developed from this? So we said that she stayed a lot with the old lady. What did she learn from her? What did she gain from her? And what might have happened if she'd stayed longer? Remember? All right, let's move to question 3. On whom did the writer say she first practiced her medical skills? So who was her first patient? Okay, that's an easy question. Number 4, explain using your own words the 2 sentences. I have noticed always what actors children are, and then the sentence ends upon its doll. So try to explain this sentence using your own words. We talked about it a little bit earlier, so hopefully you'll be able to answer. Question 5, in what ways did the writer extend her practice? So how did she continue practicing medicine, or what did she do next after she was practicing on her doll? And last but not least, question 6, what evidence can you find in this passage that it was written over 150 years ago? In your answer, you should refer closely to the details contained in the passage and the language the writer was used. So we have a couple of hints if you flip back to page 12 and 13 that this text was written a long time ago, like dates, for example, but also try to look at the language. What are some words that she used and some phrases that she used that we wouldn't necessarily use nowadays? Okay. Once you have all of those questions written down, go ahead and upload your work to Seesaw, and I can't wait to see your answers. Good luck.